There we go.
Hi, everybody. I'm Diane Finnestead Ellis, and I'm with Courtney Hudson. So, this is our third installment of Tune In Tuesday. We are so excited to be with you guys today. This is a topic that's near and dear to both Courtney's and my heart, and that is advocacy. So she says that it's presented by Diane Finnestead Ellis, but I'm telling you, this is Courtney's mastermind. When you see all these PowerPoints, she's behind the scenes with this, coming up with these topics. You know me, I get into the minutia, and she's like, let's just stick to the real things that people can take away from this conversation to be a better advocate, not only for a cause, but also for yourself in healthcare. And then when you apply these things, you'll find out at the very end, it will be something that you can incorporate in your life. So we have one guest on here. I see it's Teresa Bratcher. Hello, Teresa. I'm so glad you're here. If you want to join in, ask any questions, Courtney will be checking the chat. And we really appreciate you being here. So, and then this will be available on my website, www.dianeinsurancestl.com. So I've been in the business since, gosh, I think I got my license in 98. It's crazy. And one of the things that I first had to learn was how to be an advocate for myself in business. And this was the nuttiest story ever that happened to me. I had to learn how to call people on the phone, and I was really apprehensive to do it. This is back in 98. Oh my gosh, I was so young. I was like 28 years old. And they said, here's a list of people. They called in, they said that they want long-term care insurance. And they checked a little box and sent in a card. And then my job was to call them on the card and then to health qualify them and financially qualify them to see if long-term care insurance was correct. So I called a gentleman and I said, hi, this is Diane Finnestead, and I'm calling. At the time, it was not Ellis. And I said, I'm calling to because you sent in a card and you were interested in long-term care insurance. And I just wanted to ask you a few quick health questions. Is that okay? And this man on the other line said, too late, like that. And I'm like, what? What did you? I'm sorry, sir. What did you say? And he goes, too late. And I said, too late for what? He goes, too late for me. I already had a stroke. I can't get it. Oh my gosh. I hung up the phone. I started crying. And I'm like, I can't help this guy. This is going to be so hard. I don't know if I can do this career. Okay, so mind you, this is like 25 years ago. This is 25 years ago, me. And I looked up and there was my mentor, standing right next to me, who at the time I didn't think he was going to become my mentor, but he did. And he was fabulous. And he looked at me and he goes, Diane, he said, you are making all sorts of mistakes when you get on that phone. You are doing tails up, and every time you go tails up, it sounds like a question, like you don't know what you're talking about. You need to go tails down in your conversation, leave everything down at the end. Don't raise it up like a question. And that is one of the things in advocacy you have to do too. You can't ask a question when you know it's your truth. So he said, call him back and see if there's anything that he can have and that he's able to do, and we'll see how we can help him. And I said, okay. So I called him back and I said, I'm sorry, sir. I couldn't talk when you said that. I got all emotional. I am so sorry. And I said, but maybe we could help your wife. And he said, yes. Like that with he couldn't do his S's. And I said, fabulous, I'll be out. Well, anyway, she turned out to be my very first client in long-term care insurance. And it was because I wanted to be his advocate. I didn't know how. And I had this passion inside me to help him. But it was always something that I remembered my friend John, who became my mentor. He said to me, Diane, you can't help everybody, but you can help them in some way. Just figure it out, what is going to be best for their life, and also figure out what you feel good about. And as you advocate for them to get them better care. And he said, always remember this. I said, I will never forget it. So that story, when we talk about advocacy, that's always present in my mind, that there's a reason and there's a purpose that everyone has, and it has to be your reason. You have to be moved by passion. So as we go into the first slide, I want to just say, presenting advocacy awareness, you deserve to be heard. You do. You deserve to be heard. Just like my client who said it was too late. It's not too late. There's always ways that you can help yourself and you can also help others. So what is advocacy? I think Courtney's going to share this.
I'm trying. Yes,
Oh,
I
she's going to catch up.
am.
This one says, what is advocacy?
Is it
And I
working?
think she's
Is,
sharing her screen.
all right, hold on. Let me pull it up.
Oh, fancy.
Oh, it's right in my way. Hold on. Sorry, I'm new to
Ooh,
this.
lots of cool things.
There we go. Okay, hang on.
Oh, look at that. Okay, so we just got to go back. Okay, there it is.
I'm gonna make it a full
Voila!
screen
Look
too.
at
Hold
how
on.
beautiful it is. So we're on the next one and the next one.
I'm trying to make it a full screen. Hold
Oh,
on.
okay. It looks fancy.
There we go. Okay.
I love it. Look at that. Tune in Tuesday. A little hootie owl.
Is this where we are? There we go.
Yeah, we're in the next one. Yes. Stand up for yourself. Even if nobody is on your side, go back. That was perfect. Yeah. So, what is advocacy? Speaking up, taking action to support, protect, and stand up for yourself or someone else, especially when something is not right. It was not right. And I knew it wasn't right with this client. And I knew I had to call back, but I knew I had to get myself together first in order to help him. And it's choosing not to stay silent when something matters. So, next screen. So, what does advocacy in healthcare look like? It looks like speaking up even when it's uncomfortable, asking questions instead of staying silent. So let's talk about that, asking questions. Go through the who, what, where, why, when, how. Just put that in your mind. Who, what, where, why, when, how, to get your answers. And that'll actually provoke a conversation and invoke a conversation with yourself about who am I trying to help? Is it me? Is it that person? How am I trying to help them? How am I trying to help myself? And what am I trying to accomplish? Where is this happening in my life? Is this happening at work? Is this happening with another relationship, a personal relationship? Is this happening with a colleague? Is it happening with someone that I go to school with? Is it happening to me? So, and also how do I want to help myself or this person? So be prepared. Ask yourself again, who, what, where, why, when, how. And if you don't have those answers, keep asking questions until you can fill in those blanks for yourself, and then respectfully push back, follow up, and then escalate when needed. And always trust yourself. Trust that higher self within you that is calling you to get these answers and help another person or help yourself. Next slide. So, did you know 50% of nurses report witnessing situations that require advocacy, but only 10% of the time does the patient or someone else speak up for them? We get really bogged down in our society with, are we going to get in trouble? Are we going to have trouble? Are we bringing trouble to us? And I will say that doing the right thing is always the right thing when it comes to those that you care about, love, or just the greater good of the community and also for yourself, because it affects you. If you help someone, it's a lot easier sometimes than thinking, should have helped them, or I should have helped myself. You don't want to get to the point where you think, gosh, 5 years ago, I wish I would have tackled this, and you didn't if it was concerning yourself. So when you hear that inner voice, keep on moving. So, what are some situations advocacy would be needed in? When you feel dismissed, when you think, something's feeling off here, when your care feels rushed, when you're not being taken seriously, when you do not understand what is happening or why, when it comes to medical, if medications, treatment do not feel right, ask questions, use a Google search, ask more questions. And then when a loved one cannot advocate for themselves, to step in and to be their advocate. So I'll share a little story. One of my clients called me the other day and she said, Diane, my friends that were in a nursing home that I was visiting, they're now passed, but I've made friends with everybody else on the floor. And so I think I should just keep visiting them. They love me and I love them. I said, well, when love is involved, you can't mess around with it. You got to go. You got to go back and see all these people. She goes, I thought that's what you'd say. She goes, I feel really strange because I'm not a volunteer. And I said, but yet you are. I said, if you feel called to do that, if you feel called to help these people, then you need to do it. And she said, I just needed to hear that from you. I go, from me? Why would you need to hear it from me? And she said, because you love a lot of people. And she said, and so do I. And I just needed to make sure that I was normal for loving strangers who have now become friends. I said, that's how it works. First, someone's a stranger, and then they become your friend, and you want the best for them. So, where there is lack of communication or follow up, you can become that person to fill in that gap. But you should also feel that same need for yourself. And when you feel pressured into making a decision, you should say something. You should say, I need time, or I don't have my questions answered. Again, it's the who, what, where, why, when, how. Has it all been answered for you? If not, then start asking more questions so the pressure can reduce and you can let yourself learn so that you can make an informed decision. So when you feel your rights are not being acknowledged or respected, that is the time to push back and to say, my rights are not being acknowledged or respected. Or in your own language, say it to someone to say, I feel that I need respect in this situation, or I need to be acknowledged in this situation. And let people know, because sometimes in a conversation, it could be one-sided. And so you just need to make sure that it is a two-sided conversation and the exchange is happening and both parties are being acknowledged and appreciated so that you can move forward and you can, again, get all those questions answered. The big who, what, where, why, when, how. Next slide. Here it comes. Drum roll, please. And it says right here, speak up, use your voice. Use your voice. This is why we have this voice. Even if you don't like your voice, it sounds different to everybody else. So use your voice. When was the last time you felt you needed to speak up for yourself or a loved one? And did you or did you not? So, Courtney, I'm going to ask you that question. When was the last time you had to speak up?
There's been so many times I've had to speak up. For people that don't know, I actually have a degree in social work, and for my internship, I did it with Voice STL, which they are the main advocacy for those in long-term care throughout the state of Missouri. And I was working in the policy and advocacy. And actually, one of my goals that we had to make was to advocate for myself because I struggled with it heavily. It's not, I didn't like sticking up for myself. I didn't, it made me feel uncomfortable. It made me feel uneasy. It made me feel like I wasn't knowledgeable in situations. And in fact, I just would second guess myself constantly. But the biggest situation where I think I still think of it to this day, and it's crazy because it's been a year on Friday, is when my mom was in the hospital. And, I ended up losing her after 34 days in the hospital. But I constantly, I didn't ask as many questions as I should have. I didn't push for answers when I should have. I didn't try hard enough, I felt like, to get my mom the care that she deserves and needed at the time. And it ended up, taking her life, I feel like at times. I can't say that the turnout would have been different if I would have advocated, because, in all logic reason, I don't think it would have. But still, it leaves me with all those questions like, did I try hard enough? Did I do everything I possibly could? And that is a terrible feeling to leave somebody with, um,
It is.
including yourself. It's not
Yeah.
a position you want to put yourself in.
Yeah.
Um, but I didn't allow that to destroy who I was. I allowed it to transform me and become a better advocate for myself and my three children with autism. And that's what we have to do in situations like that, I feel like.
I just think it's awesome that you think you could have done it better. I don't think you could have done it better. Like we all grow and we all learn more as we progress in our life. There was one time, so a lot of people know that my career has been like bookends. I started in insurance and then I became a national trainer, loved it, and then went back to the classroom and then somehow thought I should become a principal. And I did. And then I was like, oh, I love the kids. I don't love the parents. I'm out of here. So that was like 14 years ago, and I came back, full time. But one of my very favorite teachers when I was a principal, oh my gosh, I just absolutely loved her as a person and also as just a human being and as a teacher. She was so loving to her kids, and she pushed herself so much to be I mean, really to be everything she could be to these children. And she was just a fabulous teacher, just glowed, when she was in the classroom. And one time when we were looking at her progress, and I was giving her this amazing, progress report because I could see from the outside. Because from the outside, Courtney, everything that you did for your mom is so present in everything that you do now for all of our clients. I mean, everything that you've learned, you've put into to place, and you've been able to help people's lives. And that was the same thing with this teacher. She came to me and she said, Miss Finnestead, because again, I wasn't Miss Ellis at that time. She said, Miss Finnestead, she said, I wish that I was the same teacher I am today for those classes that I had 4 years ago when I started. And I said, oh, no, 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 you don't understand. You can't be the person that you are today without having been that person 4 years ago. You were exactly who you were meant to be at that moment for those people in your life. And then how you've developed into who you are right now is exactly how you're supposed to be for all the people in your life right now. So Courtney, I'm just going to say this to you. You didn't know I was going to say this to you on this webinar and on this class, this Zoom. You are exactly who you are supposed to be today because of who you were a year ago. And just let that sink in. So a year from now, you will be exactly who you're supposed to be then because of all the experiences you have this year and the previous year and the previous year. Isn't that wonderful? They think that, children grow up, like, oh, we were growing up to a grown up. Well, guess what? The adults grow too. I mean, you're a different mom than you were, 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And that's the way it's supposed to be. It's really beautiful when you think of that. But for some reason, we put so much pressure on ourselves. And again, it goes back to our women's issue, one that we had 2 months ago. And we put so much pressure on ourselves to be perfect. And Just become a recovering perfectionist like me. Join me, Courtney.
Yeah, that's exactly, something that I've been learning is I need to humanize being human again. Because
Yeah.
I think of myself as some superhero, and I've actually rerouted the whole definition of what I think a superhero is, and it's just an ordinary individual who takes on things and humanizes being human.
Yeah, yeah, it's just awesome. It's awesome to do that. So, again, I'll ask our audience here that's going to be listening to this, when was the last time you felt you needed to speak up for yourself and or a loved one? And did you or did you not? You got to pick your spots. My dad used to say that to me. Pick your spots, Diane. You can't have all the spots. You got to have some spots that you really feel passionate about, more passion than others, because I'm a passionate person. So pick your spots. Let's go to the next slide. So why do we not speak up when it matters most? Fear, 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 fear. Like I say, fear, is it faith or fear based? Which one is it? How are you acting? 25% of the people say that they're afraid to talk with their doctor, 55% of this fear of retaliation, that something's going to be held back from them if they say something. They don't want to offend. There's no offense in you wanting the best care for yourself. There are so many doctors in this world, folks. So there are so many ways that you can get health care. If you want an excuse not to see a doctor, well, it's real easy to say, I can get in. But my goodness, you can press and you can advocate for yourself, and you can get your who, what, where, why, when, how answered. So power dynamics, they're the expert. And who am I to question it? You know what? I'm just going to give you an example. Sometimes you got to question it. Sometimes you got to say, is that really the only treatment that I could have? Is there someone else that in the medical field that you might have learned from that might have a different way of doing this? Now, when you ask that question, they need to answer it. They're going to have a mentor. They're going to have someone that they did their internship with. They're going to have a hospital that they worked with. They've got a full plate of all this experience that you can draw from, that it's not combative when you ask that question. In your experience and your education, have you seen anyone else tackle this a different way? They give you that name, you look it up and you find that person and you see if your insurance is going to cover you in that state for that person if they happen to be out of state, or in that hospital if they happen to be in the same area. There are ways to get the information in a kind way so that will help you. Lack of confidence in knowing what to say. If you don't know what to say, think, breathe first, breathe, calm yourself and think, have I gotten all my questions answered? Who, what, where, why, when, how? Well, who is that doctor? What is their experience? What was the outcome of this for people that had a situation like me? How can I expect to recover? What is the recovery time? Just keep going through the who, what, where, why, when, how, and you're going to find your words. I promise it will give you confidence. Emotional barriers, fear of bad news, embarrassing discussions, anxiety in the environment. You know what? This is what I call rip the band-aid. Just rip it off. Just do it. Because the faster you get to the root of the problem or what is going on with the diagnosis, the faster you can ask more questions and get something for you, an answer for you that works for you, for your understanding. You're speaking the same language, and that's what you're seeking. So system barriers, language, communication barriers, this is what I'm talking about. The language, the lack of understanding, fear of discrimination, bad treatment. You know what? Bring a buddy. Bring a friend. Every one of us has that friend that will speak up and will say, hey, you know what? There's some problems here, and they will go with you. Have a friend go with you to your appointments, a family member, someone who has all those questions that you've decided ahead of time to have that conversation. It is so important to have that and to know that you can guide the conversation. It doesn't have to be the doctor. It's you. It's your appointment. You've paid the money. You need to guide it. You need to tell them. It's like when you go and get your hair cut. You're not going to just sit there in the chair and tell the hairdresser, do whatever you want. Now, I've done that before and I didn't like whatever they wanted. I had the worst haircut of my life. So don't do that. You wouldn't do it for a hairdresser. You wouldn't go to the barber guys and say, just do it. Just shave it. Well, what number? And then you tell them, I don't care. And then you come out looking crazy. I mean, now come on. We're not going to do that in a hairdresser. So take that same mentality and do that with your doctor and tell him, I'm in the chair. This is how I would like it done. I want to know how much anesthesia I'm going to have, how long I'm going to be out, how long my body is going to feel it. Somebody of my weight, my size, how long did it take them to recover? Will I need drugs afterwards? Do people need drugs? What are the drugs? Are they addictive, or do they counteract with the drugs I'm already taking? I mean, ask the ton of questions. Just like when I'm sitting there and they say, "Oh, Diane, we're going to dye your hair." No, you're not. You're going to tell me what process you're going to use, how long I'm going to be in those curlers, and then how long it's going to heat up and I'm going to look like I'm communicating with Mars. I want to know exactly what's going on. Don't do something to me. I want to know what's being done. Does it make sense? Don't do something to you without knowing what's going to be done. It lowers your anxiety. Okay, enough of that. I think I covered that big. Now, the next one is the biggest barrier to advocacy is not ability. It is fear. So let's talk about this fear. Courtney, when have you felt the fear? Because I'll tell you when I have, and that's when I was, with mom and also dad, and it was significant because I did not understand what was happening with everything that was going on with my dad, and he
Yeah,
would
I would
tell me
agree. Yeah, I
he
agree.
he would not tell me. I'm like, Dad, he showed up at my house and he only lived 5 houses away. So it wasn't uncommon for him to just walk up the street and around the corner. I'm dad's in the house that I grew up in and at that time. And then I'm in the tree house, the house that I played in when I was a little girl, and I always said I was gonna live in that tree house. And I do. So so what happened was dad showed up at my door and I said, Dad, what's going on? He goes, look at my legs. And he had walked up the street and around the corner. So he'd walked like, I don't know, 120 yards maybe, and right to my doorstep. And he said, I can't even get in your house. And I have one little lip. Honestly, it's about this big, to get into the house. And he couldn't step up. I said, Dad, what's going on? And so all this fluid had collected in his legs, and the pressure from it, I can't even understand how he was even able to walk. I said, Dad, you've got to go to the hospital right now. Right now. No, I don't want to go. And I said, no, you have to go. No, I do not want all of those sirens going off in the yard, come in here. And he goes, I can hear it from my house. You can hear it in your yard. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Dad, it's not a big deal. He goes, you tell them to turn those sirens off and then they can come pick me up. So then that was a whole other conversation with EMS telling them, we don't want the sirens. We don't want to alert the neighborhood. My dad does not want everyone and everybody asking, how's your dad? Is your dad okay? How's everything? Because it's, the nosy neighbor syndrome. And they mean well, they love him. I love him, but he did not want the whole hoopla. He did not want the paparazzi, basically. So finally, we cut through that and he was able to go to the hospital. So that was the first time that he went out of a series of about 8 times until he passed. And it was over a series of a couple of months. But the way that his body was retaining fluid was pressing on his whole system so he could have a blood clot, but he was taking a medicine that causes you to bleed if you have a cut or anything like that. So the hospital didn't realize that it was as bad as it was. And when they were moving his leg, inadvertently, he got a cut, very small, but that it was like, it might have been a river. Blood just kept coming out, and you thought it was a lot worse than it was. And Dad was like, "Well," he goes, "I guess I'm just gonna sit here and bleed to death." I'm like, "No, you're not." So I was in fear because I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know that he could bleed so easily. He kept that from me. It's not something that we talked about. So I'm telling everyone who's listening, who's dealing with a parent who is aging, that you got to ask questions and you've got to get some answers. Look at the medicine they're taking. And those people who are of the age of over, 65 on Medicare, look at the medications you're taking and ask, why am I taking this? What is it supposed to be doing in my body? How am I supposed to see this? Be your advocate, because knowledge is power, and it's power over your anxiety, and it fights the fear. Knowledge is your weapon against the fear. So you got to get to that knowledge. Okay, so
I think it's using that fear too to guide your questions that you ask. Like, what are you afraid of? What is your fear surrounding that situation right now? What kind of questions can you ask to help guide that fear in the other direction too?
absolutely. Instead of swallowing your fear, because swallowing your fear is just awful, because then it brings on all the other things: guilt, remorse, lack of sleep, anxiety.
Yeah.
So it's a lot better, like you said, Courtney, just identify it, quantify it, and capsulize it. So, how do you advocate effectively? Let's see. Let's spell advocate. That's hilarious that you put that in there. My mom loves Scrabble. That would have been a really good word. She would have got a lot of points on that
Oh
word.
yeah, she would have.
She'd have been like, "Ha ha, I got it. I won." So, what do you do? So, what do you do to start advocating effectively? Start with clarity, like a diamond. Let's just start and ask yourself what your main concern or objective is. Get clear. Why am I seeing this doctor? Why do I feel this way? Why am I taking this drug? Ask the whys to start gaining clarity. Use clear communication, the ability to say what you mean calmly and directly. If you don't know how to state it, then ask a question. Ask a question of what? What does this mean? Oh, you used that big word, doctor. What does that mean? Oh, you said that this could be, I had a TIA. What does TIA stand for? And what does it mean? When does it happen? What age does it happen to? And I in the normal category. Ask all these questions to promote the what. So clarity is going to be the why, and clear communication, you're going to ask what, and they'll answer. Ask questions about everything. And that's the who and the where and the how. Who's going to be responsible for this? I'm responsible for this. I'm the one that's going to be taking this medication. And then when am I following up with you? Oh, I'm the one that's going to have the surgery. And then what happens prior to the surgery and after the surgery? What is my aftercare? You're in that clear communication part, but now you don't understand really why you're having the surgery. Why do people my age have the surgery? And how are they treated after the surgery? And what is going to be our way of communicating afterwards? So you just get clear on the before, the during, the after, everything. And document and organize everything. If you cannot document and organize everything, oh my goodness, Get a buddy, get a friend, get a family member. Go to your place of worship and get someone to be that buddy and say, okay, I need to document this. And then you're writing down everything that they did. Now there are AI tools that you can use. AI has a wonderful tool called CUE. It's an app, and you can just place it on record. And then after you've had a meeting, it'll print out all of your notes that you need to have from that meeting. It'll make it so that you can use that. Chat GPT is another way that you can use that in order to gain questions or ask more questions. So I know it sounds weird to some people to embrace AI with this, but you really can, so that you can be organized. You can also get a calendar and then speak into your calendar, especially on Google, in the notes, what you'd said to your doctor at that on that particular day, and you can have that in your phone. So ask someone who's probably, I don't know, probably 30 or younger in your family, your friend, your buddy who's like, young, and you say, how do I do this in my calendar? So that every time that you put a doctor's appointment in there in the notes, you can even speak into it into your phone, and it'll have all your notes. We talked about this, and this. This is one of the things that we did for Dad, and so it was something that I could send to my brother and my sister who were not present at those appointments or after those appointments, so they could see all what was going on step by step. So there's tools. There's more where that came from. Just ask us. We can tell you all about the tools. Okay, and the next thing, educate yourself. We've said this. This is what we want you to do. Educate yourself. We're going to the next slide. Yes. Yay, this is so beautiful. This is called protecting your brain. And I love it because you've got all these emotions going on up there in your brain that's allowing you to take in information and process information. And education is so good. It says, look things up on the internet. It's a powerful tool. We talked about AI. Understand your rights always. You can look and see what the patient's rights are. You need to read your rights when you are in the hospital, or have someone read those to you so that you understand what is happening, so that your information remains your information. People think, oh, well, I'm protected by HIPAA. Well, not if you sign something that says that you give up your rights, and that sometimes can happen. So you definitely want to have someone there to read that. We all just sign it, right? No, don't do that. Look for the keywords in there and look for how you're protected, especially your personal information. Understanding all of your options, and ask, is there another option? Don't just assume that if you're told this is what we're going to do, that that's the only thing that can be done. That's ridiculous. Otherwise, if it was that way, I'll just use an analogy. My mom loved beef stroganoff. Okay, she loved it. I love it. It's my favorite. And my dad did not like the noodles. He hated them. He was like, egg noodles, yuck. And so I don't want that. He said, I want it on rice. So my mom would make beef stroganoff on rice. And so my whole life, I thought beef stroganoff was served on rice because I didn't understand all the options. I didn't know it could be served on egg noodles. In fact, I think I remember telling the the lady who was a wonderful cook in college. I remember telling her, "I think you're wrong. I think that it's only supposed to be served on rice." And she said, "Only in your family." So just know all your options. Otherwise, you might miss out on egg noodles. I'm teasing. I digress. But what I'm saying is you need to know all your options. If someone says we're going to do this surgery, you need to say how long, how much time, how much time am I under? Is that normal? Is that a normal amount of time? I mean, educate yourself. Emotional regulation. Put your hand on your heart and breathe, and just take a deep breath and stay calm when things feel intense. I am going to give myself that medicine right now. Ooh, I just press. Courtney, you see me press when things get intense. I just press on. I'm just like, I'm going to power through this. I'm going to power through this. I just need to take that medicine and say, okay, emotional regulation. Things feel intense. I need to breathe. And meditation, it's a powerful tool when trying to regulate your emotions. I'm not there yet, but I'm going to be there someday. But I need that. Sometimes I just need to be in nature. Or I just need to see something beautiful, like a flower or a meadow or an ocean or pictures of it or something like that that just gets me focused on the beauty of the earth and not the problem that I'm currently in. So it says it could simply be saying, I need a moment to think about this. Or maybe we should revisit this in a moment. If you need a moment, say it, because people will power through, just like me. They'll power through and they'll just keep on pushing, keep on going. And we're just going to keep on going ahead in this conversation. And maybe you just need to say, huh, I need a moment here. I do. I need to think about this. And I think it's a lot better than saying, hold your horses to a person. You posted something about that on Facebook. I laughed so hard. You're like, I don't want to hold any horses. Is that what it said? What did it say?
It said, I'm not one to hold my horses. And I'm not at all.
It's so hard because I'm in that category too. I'm like, give me the reins, man. I got this.
I'm gonna finish this race.
I'm gonna do it. Check this off the list. Move on to the next thing. Oh, but
sometimes our horses need held for a second, and I'm like coming to realize that a little bit.
Sometimes the horses are tired.
Yeah. And they need a minute.
My dad used to say to me, he's like, you can't, I was little, I was like wanting to be a cowgirl. He goes, you can't be a cowgirl. Your horse would be too tired.
Yeah, mine would be too.
Yes, exactly. So remember this conversation when when you think your horse is tired, so are you. Oh my goodness. So then we have boundary setting. Woo, this is one, man, I had to take a class during COVID about boundary setting. I took 2 classes to learn how to do it, and I'm still not that good at it. I really am not. And so this is like preaching to the choir here. It says, it is knowing what you will and will not accept, and knowing that you can't change it. That is my biggest challenge in life. Like, I think, oh, this is fabulous. This is exciting. I want to do this. Great. And I'm thinking of the end result, like, this whole weight loss journey thing for me. I mean, 5 pounds, I'll take 5 pounds, people. Believe me, it's a 5 pound turkey. That thing weighs a lot. But, when it comes off the scale, you're like, 5 pounds. Ugh. But I'll take it. And I'll tell you what, it is knowing what you will and will not accept. And sometimes I just think it's mind over matter. Sometimes it's habits. It's just habits. What are your habits that's keeping you in that boundary of your life that you want? What is that daily habit? So it is, is it okay? Every week I'm going to see how I'm doing on my medication. Every week I'm going to see how I'm doing on my health. I'm going to look at my exercise. Is it weekly? Is it daily? It breaks down into habits sometimes with the boundaries, because you're committed to that habit. So anything else in life that presses in, you can say, no, that's my number one habit. That's what I'm doing. So you set a boundary for yourself because you're keeping yourself in line with the idea of health for yourself. And that's okay. That is okay. A healthy person is welcome anywhere, right? So that does not work for me. Works. So someone comes in and this is wonderful in my life. People say, "Oh, Diane, you'd be so good at this." Courtney, have you ever heard that before? "Oh, Courtney, you would be so good at this." And the response, instead of feeling guilty, like, "Oh, you think I'm so good at this. I hate to disappoint you. We don't want to disappoint." We have to say, uh, you know what? Thank you, but that doesn't work for me. And keep it moving. It's the best response ever. I love it. I'm going to embody that. Okay, check me next month and ask me if I've used that line. That does not work for me. The next one is I respectfully do not agree with this course of action. That's a little harsh for me, so it's just a little bit because I respectfully do not agree with this course of action. You're not saying I disagree with you. It's not personal. It's just the course of action. So I can see it in the medical aspect of it. But I think I'd have to rehearse it a couple of times and maybe have it on a cue card, when I was in the doctor's office. And the doctor would be like, "What are you looking at?" I'd be looking at my phone, and on my phone, it would say, and I would read it, and I'd say, "I respectfully do not agree with this course of action." My phone tells me to tell you that. No, I'm teasing. But I mean, I think I would put it on my phone. I think I'd put it on my phone that says that does not work for me. You got any other suggestions? That one doesn't work for me. That sounds more like me, don't you think?
Yeah.
I could probably get away with that and I'd feel okay. But I think if I got strong enough to say I respectfully do not agree with this course of action, I might be a totally new Diane, you know?
And I think that's what, when we're working on setting boundaries and showing others what our boundaries are, it is made to make us uncomfortable and not feel like we're in our element, because that's just the way it is. It just makes you feel uncomfortable. And when my mom was going to the nursing home, I her white blood cell count was still going through the roof. Her hemoglobin was still going down. And I should have said right then and there, I respectfully do not agree with the course of action of releasing her into the nursing home, but I didn't. And I have found myself using that. I had to have hernia surgery a few months. I guess it was, I don't, I don't remember. It was like 6 months ago or something. And it was after my mother had passed. And the surgeon that I was going to use, it was actually going to go to DePere Hospital, but DePere Hospital had closed. So the surgeon's like, "Oh, well, we're going to go to this other hospital." And I'm like, "No, we're not, because I'm not." And I told him, I said, "I don't agree with that plan. I can't have surgery there. I will not have surgery there." And I ended up going to find another surgeon, and lo and behold, everything went fabulous. So
That's good. That's so good. Is that I think if you wouldn't have said something, you would have regretted it. And the
right.
regret is worse than the moment of saying, I respectfully do not agree with this course of action.
And was it uncomfortable? Yeah, it was really uncomfortable on that phone. With It wasn't with the doctor, it was with the nurse, but still, it was uncomfortable because she's like,
Right,
"Oh," like she didn't even know what to say, and I'm like, "Sorry."
right, exactly. Because they're used to people just going along with it, and you
Mhm.
don't have to. You do
Right,
not have to.
right,
So,
because these systems are not set up to benefit us. It benefits them. Like, you know what I'm saying? It makes things easy for them. It doesn't make things necessarily easy for anybody else on the outside. So
exactly,
that's where the
exactly.
boundaries come into play.
I think that that's wonderful. Because this is just another thing too, that anytime you have family that is there and is also advocating for you, like you did for your mom and I did for my dad, um, and it's just one where they know that you're part of the equation and they know that they have to get your approval and they have to make sure that you're understanding everything on that, and you do receive a better quality of care when you have that person advocating for you, educating you, making sure emotionally you're regulated, and that you're, as the advocate, emotionally regulated, And then also that setting those boundaries and stating those questions and seeking the very best outcomes and possibilities for your loved one. It makes a difference. So think of all the people that don't have someone, and then they don't have that advocacy happening, and their outcomes could be completely different with the presence of one person making sure that they're able to do that. So the role of, it's an unpaid role, but as your own advocate, but the pay is priceless because it is the quality of your life, it's the quality of your recovery, and it's the quality of the way that you're going to move into the world after a huge surgery and event like that. So it's so important. So what else to know? The support system. That's what we're talking about. The people, the people that love you, your buddy, your family member, your parishioner, your member of your synagogue, whoever it is that you would have with you, that can be there, because not handling everything alone, it is overwhelming emotionally to handle it all yourself. It's very difficult to heal and to also be someone of a uh basically someone who is astute enough to talk to someone who's gone to the 22nd grade and rattles off words from the 22nd grade of medical school, and then their intern, and then their residency, and then all these things. So they're in the 22nd grade. And you're trying to intellectualize what they're saying, but emotionalize what you're feeling, and then you're also trying to create this wonderful place where you can heal. And so the support system allows you to do that so that you can just work on healing. And I think, this is a shameless plug, but I'm going to plug it in there anyway. That's why when you make a decision about insurance, that you know what the insurance is going to do and not do in that situation that you're about to face, and that you know that that's handled so you don't have to worry about it. That's what insurance is there for. It's to ensure that you have what you need when you become unhealthy. So if you don't know about your insurance and you have no idea how you would be taken care of, oh my goodness, call Courtney and I, and we can review it for you, or call your own insurance agent and have them review it, because persistence, following up, is part of that insurance piece too. It's not just with your doctors, it's to make sure that you've got the insurance that you need going forward, and asking again and not stopping at the first, well, no, or feeling like they're not giving you that information. Get the information from your doctor, from your insurance agent. Everything works together so that you can be well and so that you can just heal. And then knowing when to escalate a situation, ask for a supervisor or a higher up, going to another resource, or seeking a second opinion. I will tell you right now, my mom at the very end, she was not asking anybody for anything. She was like, I feel horrible. She did. She was done. She even said to me, Diane, I'm done. And I'm like, I'm not done. I'm gonna make sure you get what you need, Mom. And I'm gonna go talk to them right now. No, no, no. Don't tell them that you're an insurance agent. Don't tell them what you know. Oh no, I will store that in my back pocket and pull it out if I need to let them know what I know in order to protect my mama. Are you kidding me? It's my mama. I was like, I will. But I told her, oh, okay, ma'am, just to kind of get out of that conversation. But oh my gosh, there was a nurse that didn't need to be nursing there, and she just didn't need to do it. She had just had a baby and she was tired. And she was really tired. She didn't want to change she just didn't want to change linen. She didn't want to go get any water. She didn't want to do anything. She was tired and she was hurting, and I could tell. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I went to a supervisor and I said, hey, she's just had a baby. She probably needs to go home. And the supervisor said, what? What? Like they didn't have any idea, about it. And I said, how can you not see that she's barely walking here and she's kind of not doing everything she would normally be doing and what the other nurses have already done? And I said, can't you just send her home and not put it in a record? Why? Just send her home. And then all of a sudden, she was home. Mom had another nurse. So you got to talk up about these things. You can't just keep it a secret. It's your parent. It's your loved one. So trusting yourself. You are your biggest resource. Trust your instinct. I mean, I can remember sitting in the hospital and I would read about all these things that were going on with mom. The nurse would come in, I'd say, okay, I just read about, oh, put that away. We don't like that WebMD, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, I'm learning here. Tell me what this means. I said, I'm not leaving until you tell me because this is my free education. Thank you very much. If we're going to pay for this hospital room, I want to know all about it. So they hated me, but no, they really didn't. We were great. We were all was well, but there were times where I would laugh and I would say, I need to know about this. What is this? And then they would tell me, and I'd say, oh, well, I need to be here the next morning at 7:30 in the morning when they make a round with the doctor, and I need to be here present to be able to ask my questions. And I think, yeah, I would show up and there would be the doctors. I'd have coffee for them, because I want to make friends. And I'd ask all my questions and I would write it all down. And then I would send it to my brother and my sister and let everybody know what was going on.
Is
So
that what I
use
did
your
wrong? I didn't bring him coffee. Is that what I did wrong?
Oh my God. We brought him so much food, it was ridiculous. So, but just remember, you're your biggest resource and trust your instinct. Be present. And if you're not feeling up to it when someone comes in the room and has a conversation with you because you're laying there in the bed and they're telling you, you need to have this, this, and this, we're going to give you this shot, we're going to give you this drug. And you just go, uh-huh. That is when you pull out your phone and you call your loved one and say, we just had a conversation. I just agreed to it. I don't know what I just agreed to. You got to have that open communication. So choose wisely and choose that person that loves you. Just like Courtney love her mama. I love my mama and my daddy. And you want that same kind for you. Advocacy is not a skill you're born with. I wish it was. Woo! I'd be a totally different person if it was. It is a skill you build, and I'm becoming a better person because I am building that skill, and so is Courtney. And I hope so all you will build the skill. And once you build it, it does transform every area of your life. Every area. Because you get real clear as to what you need and the reason why you need it and the reason why you're asking. And it's not self-serving. It is one where you can be the best version of yourself and the healthiest version of yourself, both mentally and physically, and I will add spiritually. And that's the most important goal we can ever have. So, Courtney, in closing, what do you want them to really take away?
Well, I guess I would say, you are your best advocate because nobody is going to do it for you. Obviously you have a support system if you're lucky and everything, but if you don't speak up for yourself, you can't expect someone else to speak up for you. And really, becoming knowledgeable about the things that you're involved in, whatever that may be. If it's IEP meetings, if it's a loved one being in the hospital, if it's a loved one with an illness that you don't understand, any situation you find yourself in, educate yourself about it because you can't effectively articulate your needs or your wants or your concerns if you don't have the knowledge to back that up.
It's so true. I admire you so much because of everything that you bring to the table for every client. And it is one where if you guys don't know this story, I was presenting at Voice, STL.org, which is the ombudsman program, as Courtney said that she did her internship there. And I was talking about Medicare 101, and just things that you need to know. And Courtney's hand kept on going up and going up and going up and asking clarifying questions about it. And I was so impressed with the fact that she had so many questions and she just asked without abandon in front of all of her peers and everyone that was there. And I went up to her afterwards and I'm like, you need to be with me. So when you finish your internship here, you need to call me because I have all these people that need your help, that need to know, because I believe in my core being that when you get insurance, it is supposed to pay you when you need it to pay. So but getting that to happen these days has been very, very convoluted and complicated. And thank God Courtney knows the language and she understands it. And she said, Diane, this is what this means on the other side for the hospital. This is what it means for the rehab facility. This is what it means in the insurance language. And so all of her friends that are now doing all these, social worker positions have said, Courtney, you're not using your degree. And she's laughed and said to me, I use it every day.
Yeah, just like you said before, you're not the person, I'm not the person I was a year ago, just like I'm not the person I was 2 years ago. All those resources, qualities, knowledge that I gained from going to Missouri State for my social work degree, I use that every day in my life, not just in work. I use it every day walking down the street. In IEP meetings with my children, there's so many times I've used it, and I ended up losing my mom a month before I graduated. I think it actually ended up being two because I had to push my graduation off. But I feel like I've just embodied so much more because of that, and it just blows my mind every day how
It's
much I
just
use it.
It's just awesome because I can remember, back in 98, that's right when St. Louis started with an organization called Breakthrough. And there were about 28 of us in this organization called Breakthrough. And it was everyone in the senior market in any capacity. So it could be if you were in caregiving position, or you owned a caregiving facility, or a company, or anything that you can imagine with seniors. Well, now there's about 6 breakouts, and they're called SRT, Senior Resource Teams. And they have, approximately 28 members every time that they meet around St. Louis. But then altogether, you're looking at like almost over 500 people now in Breakthrough. So when you go to a meeting for Breakthrough, there's 500 to 800 people there that are now in the St. Louis area to serve seniors. So it has just grown by leaps and bounds. And I think the reason for that growth has been the hospital systems that we have. We have, the 5 here in St. Louis, and then we have the surrounding hospital systems in the metro area, which lends over to Illinois. And so it's really just grown and grown and grown. So any time someone would need to have a referral to a senior service, even to, like clean your home, or go through your personal items and decide, should they go to auction? Should they go to estate sale? Should I talk to someone about updating my trust or my will? Or, should I talk to someone about other insurances besides health insurance? Courtney and I know all of those people in the St. Louis area that can help you, and we can send you at least three names. So at a time, for any type of service that would help and would help you. And then also we're able to, when you have insurance through me, it's one where if you need a recommendation for a doctor, Courtney can give you a recommendation based on who and what doctors are in and being used by all of our clients. So, and again, we'll give you three names. So, urologist the other day, if someone needed that, I had three names that just pop up all the time with clients. And it's one where it's interesting because my business is attached to a larger entity, which is J. Berg and Associates. And so they could fill the Busch Stadium with the amount of clients they have in the St. Louis metro area. So we're looking at, like 68,000 plus clients in the area. So we see these names of doctors repeated a lot as to who has, really good outcomes. So that's, if you need something like that, if you need to know, okay, how do I get involved in that? Also, if you need to know more about Voice STL, or if you need to know more about the Alzheimer's Association, the walk this year is October 31st, which I think is scary. and then also other organizations too, in St. Louis. American Heart Association is huge here. The breast cancer, Susan G. Komen is huge. The ovarian cancer walk is coming up in the fall. And so there's all these different entities that we're so happy to connect you to. We're also happy to connect you to the food banks and the senior resources that have Meals on Wheels and that type of thing. If there's anything that we can do as a value add, because it's going to make your life better and you're going to be able to advocate for yourself and call us and ask us, then we will give you as many resources as we possibly can, because we believe that helping you is not just helping you with insurance, it's helping you with your life and your loved ones and everyone that you care about. So I just want to say thank you to Courtney. And I want to thank you guys for listening. And I want to thank you for those of you who have given business to me and allowed my business to grow. I don't take it lightly. Most of my business, almost 98.9% of it, is referral. And you guys just spread my name like word of mouth, and you're going to be spreading Courtney's name too. And I'm just so thrilled every time that phone rings and says, "Oh, so and so told me to call you." I don't take it lightly. That is a beautiful thing. It's like manna. And it's the greatest compliment that I can receive. So I'm thrilled that we've been able to have this time with you and just share with you that you too can be an advocate and in your life, and it will make a difference. And you'll be a different you a year from now by asking who, what, where, why, when, how. And we'll see you next month. The next month, what are we doing?
Mental health matters.
Woohoo! Because boy, oh boy, it does.
Yes, it does. It
And
feeds into every portion of your life.
every single part. So we're going to talk about that, and we're not going to be shy about it, are we? Not
Nope.
at all. Well, so we will sign off, and you guys have a wonderful, wonderful month. Tune in Tuesday next month, and it is on May 12th. May 12th. Mental Health Matters. We'll see you then. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Courtney. You're the best.